Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I'll start in just a few seconds. I am just gonna get one thing going here and then we'll lead into day two of the Back to School Summit. Um, here, yeah. Okay. So, so just like last night, for everyone that joined us last night, thank you for everyone that did join us last night. It was an action-packed night. We covered a lot of Aaron from the Rooted family, and I covered a lot of content to really help support you families during this time of transition back into the school year. But a lot of what we talked about too wasn't just relevant to um, just the school year. It's propelling yourself forward in life. So tonight, I want to just build on to that conversation that we had last night. And so tonight is on health and wellness, and those are very generic words. So let's flip that, and let's talk about promotion of health. I want to cover how to excel our health during this time, and not just during this time, but going forward in life, because we're going to be faced with stress. Obviously, we're faced with a lot of stress right now with everything that is going on, but we're going to face stress in our life going forward um, until the end of time. So let's figure out what we can do to propel our health and promote health within. So, because we know that what we know is that when the world is throwing too much at us, more than our body can handle, it's not going to end well. Okay. So again, when the world is throwing too much at us and it's more than our body can handle, it is not going to end well. Okay. So that's why I'm going to talk about core habits. Okay. Back to the basics. Tonight is back to the basics. We know this. You know this as, just humans, as parents. We know this information that I'm going to cover. It's just we may need to hear it again, and nothing wrong with that. A lot of times we have so many things going on in our life that we just need this on repeat until it clicks. So again, we're going to go back to the basics tonight on a lot of things, and I'll dig deeper into some science on some stuff. But health is never something that where we achieve it and then we don't have to do anything anymore. Okay, it's not that, hey, I achieved health, now I can relax, sit back, and do nothing. No, we need to keep that momentum. Once we get health and we have that health that we want, we need to keep that momentum going forward, because we all know that if we achieve something, but then we don't do anything to maintain that, we're going to regress. We're going to lose that. Okay. And we don't want to put all that time and effort into our health and then to let it just slide. So, one thing I always say is, and I feel like it's not something that, we really think about, but trust your body, trust the body. Our bodies are intelligent. Our bodies know what to do when they are able to function the way that they should. And that'll be something I'll talk about later. But trust your body. When we trust it, we support it. And a lot of the things I'm going to talk about when it comes to the basics, our core basic foundations are going to be able to support that body. Okay. Now, when we talk about support, let's just talk about the opposite. Okay. So like medicine, though, whether it is over the counter or prescription, they do the job for the immune system. Perfect example is that a steroid a steroid is actually, it takes down the inflammation. It's not the body that takes down the inflammation. It's the steroid that takes down the inflammation. Just like the antibiotic is what removes the bacteria, even though not very specifically, it kills everything, but it's the antibiotic. It's not the body. I think we've over the years have lost that foundation of that our bodies are the most intelligent thing in the world. We just have to allow it. We have to support it. And that is what tonight is, because we need to get back to that. We need to get back to supporting our body internally, so that we're not having to rely on all these external things, because our bodies can do it. We just need to give it that potential. So, and when we use like medicine and that stuff, because they do the job, which means that the body, the immune system doesn't get stronger because it didn't overcome it itself. In fact, it actually can get weaker, because it's like, we take in the antibiotic or the steroid or whatever, the over-the-counter, whatever the medication, and the body's like, so you're saying I can just sit back and do nothing, and you're going to do it for me. Awesome. Okay, here we go. So, it's our body learns from our environment. So that's why exposure is so important. That's why being exposed to things is what helps the body build and learn from it. It learns from every single thing. That's why, like last night when we talked about, it's okay to fail, because that's how the brain learns. That's how our bodies function. It learns from failure. It learns from doing things over and over and over. And the more that we have been exposed to things, the more easily that we're able to handle that exposure after that. So, and this is one thing that, kids are meant to get sick. We're meant to get sick, and let me tell you, as a parent myself, it sucks. It sucks as when we get sick ourselves, especially that man flu. The man flu is deadly. But when our kids get sick, it really sucks. So I feel you on that. But I feel like when you know the basics, and don't get me wrong, even though I know what I need to do, there's times where you get in those situations and you're like, what do I do? And you get overwhelmed. And then I just kind of reflect back and say, what do I know? And what are the basics to how the body works? And let's support that. So getting back to the basics and really focusing on that is going to be important. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of people out there, I think more now, that are looking, and they look one way and they see families, they see people, kids that are riddled with sickness and ill health. And they know that they don't want that. But then they look the other way. And, maybe they look at me, or they look at other health-like and minded people, and they think that what we're doing is unattainable. They think that we're taking 20 supplements, that our kids never get sick, that they never have ice cream or any type of sugar, they never have a Cheez-It, and they get stuck in this comfort of the middle. They get stuck here. And what I want to say because of that is that it is easy and more attainable than you think. Okay? I see it all the time with the families that come into our office, and that I have conversations with on the regular, is that it just takes some thinking, takes some education, takes some communication to let them know that it is something that they can totally attain. So don't let people make you think that it is unattainable to achieve health, because it is attainable. All right. So what I want to do now is shift to some of the basic things that I think are core concepts, are things that I utilize a lot, and that when we just break down what we know, what's in the science, what we've always known in the world, and just getting back to that, because again, we know this, we just need to hear it again. So first one, nutrition. Okay, I'm not going to give you a long spiel on, because I could probably have a whole webinar or a whole summit on its own on nutrition. So I'm not here to talk about what you should and shouldn't. I'm going to give you a few key concepts, and we can build onto that in a different conversation. But when I look at nutrition, I'd like to look at it as the 80-20 rule. Okay, meaning that 80% of the time that we are dedicating to proper nutrition. We're eating fruits, we're eating veggies, we're eating good fats, we're staying away from the high processed food, the sugars. But then the 20% of the time we can indulge. Don't get me wrong, I love donuts. I'm gonna eat a donut here and there. I know what that probably is going to do to my body, to my immune system, to my nervous system, all of these things. But sometimes I need to indulge, because what I'm doing 80% of the time makes up for that. Okay? So don't stress to be perfect. Because honestly, if we strive for perfection when it comes to nutrition or just health in general, or anything actually, because perfection is something that honestly nobody's ever going to strive for. Nobody's ever going to achieve. So, but when we try to get that for perfection for nutrition, that can create more stress, more worry, which when we know what that does to the nervous system and the body is not good. That's the last thing we want, is to be more stressed and create more worry in a time where we need our bodies to be less stressed. But focusing, when it comes to nutrition, focusing on balance. Okay. So, there's a lot of processed foods, there's a lot of carbohydrates, but when consuming carbs, one key thing I'll just say here is that when we have carbs, make sure that in that meal that we're also having at least 50% of that carb consumption is protein. Meaning, say we have a snack and it is 20 grams of carbs. Okay. We want in that snack to at least 10 of those, or 10 grams, to be protein. That's going to help to balance that and not have that carb consumption spike the sugar as much. And just reduction of sugar. Sugar is addiction. Sugar is literally stimulates the same areas of the brain as cocaine. So it is something that it impacts, it becomes an addiction. So trying to reduce that amount of sugar too, because when what we know is sugar stimulates a lot of stress and inflammation in the body, and that can suppress the immune system. And what do we want during this time of stress right now is we want an immune system that can function better. So reducing that stress or reducing that sugar is going to be a big piece. Number 2, supplements. Okay. Now I'm just going to cover my core, my basics. Okay. Now everyone has different needs. What I'm going to cover is what I feel like is a good foundation. Now everyone has a little bit different needs, like I said, so everybody's core may be a little bit different based on that. But I feel like these ones I'm going to cover should be almost in everybody's, cabinet to be taken on the regular. So There's going to be a lot of other things I'm not going to talk about just because, again, we could probably have a whole conversation just on supplements. So my core, the ones that I am taking on the regular are a multivitamin, whole food source. So you know where it's coming from and it's not synthetic, made in a factory. Vitamin D. We just don't get much sun, even during the summer months. So we tend to be deficient in vitamin D, magnesium, and fish oil. Those are my 4 kind of go-tos that I will make sure that I'm taking. Now, there's going to be times where, hey, like we need this extra boost, like we're stressed, or hey, we're starting to feel like something's coming on, and we want to support the body. Well, 2 things that I tend to go to is vitamin C and zinc. Those are my go-tos. Now, there's other things, and have I taken other things like elderberry or sovereign silver? Yes. But vitamin C and zinc are my first go-tos. And then depending on what's kind of going on, I may take others. But those, having those there to support the body, because again, they're going to support that immune system instead of doing it itself, like over-the-counter medication and just medication in general. Supplements are going to help support the body during those times. The third back to basic thing is mindfulness. So this was something that we talked about last night, Aaron and I. Mindfulness, mindset, I think meditation, yoga. And now you may be saying, well, I am not that person. Hey, that is completely fine. You don't have to do every single thing that I'm talking about here. Do I do every single thing that I'm going to talk about? No, I do majority. And I find that balance that fits me and fits my lifestyle and doesn't overwhelm me. So like meditation, yoga, finding something for mindfulness is going to be helpful for you guys. And then number 4, movement. So we talked about, Aaron and I talked about this again last night. Movement is key. Movement is how the brain develops. Movement is such a crucial piece in that. But it's just one of those that when going into, most likely majority of us are going in virtual. Okay, so meaning that we're going to be inside the house, we're going to be on technology, we're going to be getting that stimulation, we're going to be sitting, we're not going to be moving the way that we should, and that stresses the body out more. We know that technology impacts the brain. We know that posture, sitting is the new smoking 10 years ago, but it's still, we know that it impacts our health. So getting up and getting moving is going to be key. So like exercise, getting them outside. So if they're done with, school for the day, send them outside. Don't have them go on technology again, because you're probably just prolonging the amount of stimulation to the brain. And that's not what we want. So movement, exercise, get outside. Like I said, do activities as a family, because not only are we getting movement and exercise, but we're building connection. We're building connection with the ones that we love. And that's only going to help. Number 5 is avoid negativity. It's hard. So it's everywhere. Don't get me wrong. I probably shouldn't be laughing about it, but negativity is every place that you look. And the 2 biggest things are television, news, and social media. That's why the biggest thing I've done and actually I'd been doing most of this even before, except for more the second part, but I don't watch the news really, because again, it is all negativity. I feel like they have maybe 1% that's positive and the rest is negativity. And I just, how I look at life and how I want to go about life is I want to try to reduce all the negativity that I can, and I can eliminate the stuff that's coming through the news. Social media, it's everywhere. People are tearing into each other, and that is only going to stress out us more. How many times have you seen a comment that you didn't like and your heart rate went up? You just created a stress response. Now, if you look at social media over and over and over on a regular basis, on daily basis, how many times are you stimulating your stress response? So it's overwhelming. And that's why I've unfollowed a lot of people that, maybe I just I disagree, and I'd rather not have them pop up on my news feed. So I've unfollowed them. Not that, maybe down the road I won't follow them again, but I didn't want that negativity, their negativity in my life. So I unfollowed them. It's pretty easy, just a click. So some of this doesn't have to be hard. And some of it just is going to take time and effort, because we're used to the opposite. We're not used to that. So it's new, and new is hard, and new is different, and it takes time. Number 6 is sleep. Okay. So we kind of talked about it with routines last night. Getting on that routine, getting them to bed on a normal time so that they are waking up on a regular time, but making sure that they're getting that sleep, because sleep is important. Sleep is when recovery occurs. So we need to be able to shut down at night, and the less that we have these in front of our eyes before we go to bed, the better the chance of us actually shutting down and getting the sleep that we need. Because we know that like technology stimulates the stress response. It stimulates the brain to think, hey, it's still day out, because it's getting the light. So when we stimulate that, it actually makes the brain think like, hey, it's not bedtime, like it's still daylight out. So it messes with our rhythm. So getting proper sleep and reducing technology use before bed is going to help significantly. May not be the only thing, but definitely a key piece. And then number 7, chiropractic. Okay. You guys are probably waiting for this, right? Save the best for last, right? Get adjusted. Why? Because it helps by taking the stress off of our nervous system and allowing our body to function better. Because we know that stress can accumulate on the nervous system and alter the way that we process our world. And if we alter the way that we process our world, we alter the way that our brain communicates to our gut, to our immune system, to our hormonal system, to our social, emotional system, to all of these. Because why? Because they're controlled by the brain and the nervous system. So let's just get into the science of that. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of depth onto a lot of things here, because this is something that I cover in depth in other workshops that I do. So, join me on one of those if we want to dig in more information. So, getting into this stuff, the health of all of us, even our kids, is controlled and starts with the central or the autonomic nervous system. Okay. Its job is to adapt. It is to control. It is to coordinate the other systems. These other systems are powerful by themselves. Don't get me wrong. They're powerful by themselves, but they're all controlled by that nervous system. They're all controlled through that central and autonomic nervous system. It runs the GI system. It runs the immune system. It runs that social, emotional system. It runs the hormone system. All of these are important. So when we are exposed to stress early and often, and the trick of this is that families don't know, and that certain things that stress their kids early because they've been normalized. A stressful pregnancy, an intervention delivery with forceps or vacuum or a C-section have been normalized. It is these early stressors that actually shift so many kids today, shifts their autonomic nervous system towards the sympathetic stress response. That is our fight and flight protective mode. Now, that side is only meant to be on for a very short period of time. But when it shifts more that way, and gets stuck, then the GI system, the immune system start to be suppressed. And the body becomes more pro-inflammatory. So there are things that we need to do to support our kids' immune systems and GI systems directly, like the supplementations, the nutrition, those things. But the most direct way that you can improve the function of every system in the body is to get that stress off of that central nervous system. And like I said, I go much more in depth in this in other talks, other workshops, webinars that I do. But once it is stuck there, once that stress is stuck, that nervous system is stuck in that sympathetic response, their neurology becomes hardwired. It needs chiropractic adjustments so many times to help it become unstuck. Because what we see is that so many kids, it gets in there early and it gets just rooted in their central nervous system. And the meditation, the therapies, the nutrition are just not enough to reset it, to reboot that system. So one of the first steps I talked about was all the strategies. So I talked about all the core habits. But now let's talk about just the order in which we really see success in the families. And that's in my office, that's in other offices that with docs that I train with. When we start to get the order of doing these things in this particular order, we start to see more success in families, more success in getting out of this stuck on stress cycle. So if there is any central nervous system stress on it, it is going to make it harder. Is going to make a harder time to get that gut, to get that immune system online. But it is a cheat code. Okay. When you do this, when you have chiropractic and when you reset that central nervous system to get it back online, kids and adults, they start propelling forward more, especially when you are doing those other things. And now we have a key foundation to how our bodies work. Our nervous system is a whole lot more able to function and perceive and process our world, that we see our kids that come in just propel in health because they are so resilient. We just need to allow that nervous system to help it get there. So, that's just such an important thing. So, now I hope that, so this is really coming to the end here. So I hope you guys benefited from what I've talked about so far tonight. Now, what I want to just close this with is that, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of things, a lot of what we are being told to do right now is more on a prevention aspect. Not that we shouldn't be doing some of those, but we have to make sure that is not the only thing that we're doing, and we then sacrifice our body. Because a mask is going to only do so much. Social distancing is only going to do so much. It comes down to the host. It comes down to how well our bodies are able to adapt and to respond and have that resiliency to whatever it is being exposed to. So, getting outside and being exposed to things and having somewhat interaction, still following guidelines if you need, but having that exposure is what builds our brain, it builds our immune system. So we need that interaction, because the more that we isolate, it's just, based on what we know of how the immune system grows and develops, the more that we isolate, the more that's going to suppress our immune systems. Even if we are doing the nutrition, we're doing the supplements, we're doing the movement, the mindfulness. If we are doing those, but we're isolating ourselves, we're not having that exposure. So our immune system is a big part. Exposure is huge. So we need that. So getting interacting with people, you could practice social distancing and still interact with people and still get exposure to things. Get outside. We can be outside. We don't have to be cooped up inside. So that's important. So again, the key thing here is get back to the basics. We know this, and you know this. Sometimes we just need to hear it again. And if you guys have any questions, you can always post in the comments section. You can always reach out to us at ADIO Chiropractic. We love to be a resource for our community and for our families. So we're always going to be here. So don't hesitate to reach out to us, even for the most simple question. Okay. So again, getting back to those key basics, that's nutrition, supplementation, mindfulness, movement, avoid negativity in our lives, sleep, and chiropractic. Okay. So like I said, just get back to those basics and, start there. That's where health really comes from. Anything else is just, is just a cherry on the top. But if we don't have the foundation, we're not going to be able to be at our best and help our kids' bodies get through this time. So, thank you guys all for joining me. This concludes our back to school summit. So I hope it was beneficial for you and you gained information from both nights. If you didn't catch night one, go back to our page and watch it. Trust me, you will get so many little golden nuggets from last conversation that I had with Aaron Sadler from the Rooted Family. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you guys have any questions. And if you are a current, patient, continue getting adjusted. We need to keep that nervous system functioning. And if you are not a patient with us and you want to find out more about how pediatric and family wellness chiropractic, neurologically based chiropractic care can help your family just, maybe even excel the health that you have already, or maybe even build a stronger foundation, reach out to us. You can text us, direct message us, give us a call. We're here. And again, thank you all for joining me and have a great night.